Hello everyone. Today we are going to study structures in Swift language. Now we all know what is a structure, right? It is a user defined data type which contains different variables and functions. In Swift also we have structures. Let's see what is the syntax of defining a structure in Swift language. You need to write down the keyword struct with the name of the structure. Inside the curly brackets, you need to write down the name of the variable. In Swift language, the variable is called as a property. Okay, so here name is a property which is a variable. Okay, we all know that in Swift you can define a variable to be a variable or a constant. Okay, so here we have taken it as a variable. Also, it is of data type string. Now, how can we create an instance of that particular structure? We need to write down the keyword let or var, whatever you want, and then the name of the instance followed by equal to and the name of the structure followed by the parenthesis. Now, inside the parenthesis, you will write down the name of the property, and after that a colon will be given, and then what we will do, we will write down the name of, we will give whatever value we want to assign to that particular variable, and then we'll use a simple print option to print that particular property. Now if you want to add functions, that also can be done. Function, the syntax of adding function is also very simple. You just need to write down func and then space name of the function followed by parenthesis, and then you can just go ahead and define whatever functionality you want to give to that particular function. Okay, here also they have created two instances. Okay, now these two instances have different values for different properties. As you can see, a very big program has been given here. Now initializers. Now what are initializers? Initializers gives the value of a particular variable or a constant. Okay. Now in this case here, an example have been given. String, int and bool, these are all predefined data types. Now these also have an init function, which is an initializer function in their definition. Okay. Now for string, the init function will contain the default value that a string data type will have, and that default value is an empty string. Okay. For int also, the default value is 0, and for boolean the default value is false. Now let's talk about member-wise initializers. What are member-wise initializers? Now in this example, I'll explain you with an example. In this example, you can see that the variable count, which is of int type, already has a default value 0. Okay, when it was defined, that default value was 0. Very fine. Okay, now here you can see when the instance of that particular structure odometer has been created, it is giving another value to that particular variable count. So we can say that it is overwriting the value which was the default value. Okay, so this 27,000 will be overwritten over the initial value that was 0. Okay, and so this particular value will be printed here. So that also can be done. For each property, there is a member-wise initializer present in the structure in Swift language. Okay, so we are talking about member-wise initializer. Okay, now let us take an example so that it will be more clear to you. Okay, so first of all, let us see in this example, a structured bank account has been created. Okay, now this bank account, it contains two properties. First is an account number, which is of int type. Second is the balance, which is of double type. Now here you can see in the property balance is already been given a default value 0. Okay, now why is it so? Why this difference? What will happen is, if for example, some person has just created an account. Now the initial balance of that particular person's account will always be 0, right? So that is why the balance of this particular structure, the default value has already been set for it. Now let us see the instances, how they have been created. The first instance has been created, which is of the name new account. You can see the syntax is the same. Now here you can see the account number is given 123 and balance is given 0, right? So that means that it will have the values 123 for the property account number and 0 for the property balance. Okay, now let's see the next account number, the next instance that has been created. The next instance is transferred account. Now as you can see here, the account number, the property account number has been given a value, but we have skipped the property balance. Why so? Because it already has a default value. Even if we skip to give the value, certain value to a particular property that has already been given a default value, then also the Swift will not give any kind of error. Okay, let's talk about now custom initializer, which is a very important concept of Swift language. Okay, let us see. Now here you can see we are taking an example. We are creating a structure temperature which has a property Celsius, which is of the type double. Okay, now what we are doing, we are creating an instance which is with the name temperature, and then giving in the to the Celsius, to the property Celsius, we're giving the value 30. Okay, next let us see, suppose we take another variable with the name Fahrenheit value. Okay, now we all know how the conversion from Fahrenheit to Celsius is being done. This is the formula for it. So in this in the second last line, you can see they have created another variable of the name Celsius value, and there they have converted the Fahrenheit value to the Celsius value, and then that value has been passed as a value to this particular structure. Okay, now these two steps are extra steps. Okay, right? So is there any way by which we can skip these steps and make our program more efficient? Yes, there is, and that is called as custom initializer. Now, for every structure, for every property, we can create init functions. We can create initializers. Now, here, let me just explain what is happening here. Here, we can see the temperature structure has been created with the property Celsius, which is of type double. Fine. Next, let us come to the third line, which says init function, which is of Celsius, in this init function we have taken another property with the same name Celsius, and the type is also the same. Now what is happening inside the curly brackets of this particular init function? Let us see. It says self dot Celsius is equal to Celsius. Now this particular here, what is happening is this self dot Celsius denotes the original property of this particular structure temperature. Fine, which is given in line number 2. So when we see line number 4, in line number 4, self dot Celsius denotes the variable in line number 2, and the Celsius that is written after the equal to sign denotes the Celsius variable that is given in line number 3, which is passed as a parameter to the init function. Okay, so what will happen is, if we come to if we come to the point where the instances have been created, okay, so let's talk about this instance current temperature. In this current temperature we are passing the value in Celsius. So that will be, what will happen is, it will call the init function of it. Okay, the init function will be called, and that Celsius will be assigned this particular value 18.5. Fine, fair enough. Now let's come to the init function where the parameter has been passed with the name, with the property name Fahrenheit. Now here this Fahrenheit has not been created yet. As you can see, the Fahrenheit has not been created yet. But what we are doing is, we have taken another property with the name Fahrenheit with the data type double. And what we are doing is, why we are doing this? Because suppose if the user wants to pass the temperature in Fahrenheit, because we all know temperature has three different measurements: Celsius, Fahrenheit, and Kelvin. So the user can pass the temperature in any measurement. It can be Celsius or Fahrenheit or Kelvin. Now we need not convert it into Celsius and then pass that value. We can directly pass the value in Fahrenheit. So when we pass the temperature, like in the instance boiling, when this boiling instance was created, is being created, the value is being passed in Fahrenheit, right? So it will call the second init function. In the second init function, the Celsius will not have the exact value 212, in rather than it will convert this value into Celsius and then will be assigned to the original property of this particular temperature. So as you can see in the last 4 lines, print current temperature dot Celsius will print the value 18.5. Print boiling dot Celsius will print the value 100, which is the Celsius equivalent number, Celsius equivalent of the Fahrenheit 212 degree. Okay. Next, let's talk about instance methods. Now, when we create any function, we all know how a function in Swift is created. We write down the keyword func, then the name of the function, then inside the parentheses we can pass parameters, we can create parameters, and then we write the arrow and then any data type. Now this data type is the return type of this function. This is how the return type is being denoted in Swift language, right? So as you can see here, also function has been created with the whatever functionality you want to add in it. Okay, and then you can just create a instance of your structure and then you can call that particular function. Next, a very important concept that is called as mutating methods. Okay, now let's dive into what is a mutating method. Okay, so suppose I want to create an odometer. Odometer is a device that gauges your speed. Okay, so where we create a structure odometer and then we create some properties inside it. The property that we have created is count, and we have given a default value to it. Okay, now let's say we want to do different functions on this particular variable count, and so what mutating function does is, if we want to create different functions which is performing the same type of functionality, we can give same name to it. Okay, how the differentiation will be done? By the type of the parameters being passed to it. For example, in line number 20 here you can see that increment is a function created by Swift, okay, by the user, and the keyword is being given as func, and the prefix of this particular function is being given as mutating. Now, why we have given mutating? Because using this mutating keyword, we can create many functions with the same name, and by passing different types and different numbers of parameters. For example, in the first function, increment function, no parameter has been passed, and what it does is it increases the value of count by 1. In the second increment function, it takes a value and increases the increases this count value by that particular amount, right? So there we have written mutating function. In the third also we have written mutating function. Why? Because this also does what? This also changes the count value, which is a property of this particular structure. Okay, so this is how it is done. Thank you.